love with Brooklyn, way before I ever got to go to Brooklyn. And I really enjoyed the first time I stayed there, but disappointed by how clean them trains were.
You got a song called Chasing New York.
That song, when I first started writing it, it made me realize that as an MC from Minneapolis, I spent a lot of my life emulating what was happening in New York, and not even what was really happening in New York, but really only what media showed me of what, you know, I had to take from magazines and videos, and they were like little classes. I'm learning from these things. A big part of my early years in my relationship with hip hop and rap music specifically was based on me trying to emulate New York. You know, I called it that because I spent all that time chasing after something that when I got there was like, it was almost underwhelming in a way.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be my mecca. And when I got there, it was like, oh, it's people. I'm glad I chased after New York. I'm glad that I did all that. And I'm glad when I got there, it turned out to actually be regular ass people doing regular ass things. You know what I mean? Like,
I got identified with that being from the West Coast, because what happens is, you know, places like here, places like the Bay, you know, we build off that influence of this big marketing plan that showed the best of it.
Yeah.
And so we start emulating the best of it. And then you go to New York and you go, wait a minute, man, I know more than this dude about this. Or that dude, every dude out here ain't dope. You know, you start realizing, oh, in the meantime, you created a world that you were looking for in the first place, right?
Yep. It's funny too, because it's still the Mecca, even though I've already seen it and it's like everywhere else. But in my mind, in the influence, the impact that it did have on me, and how you said, well, some dudes, I know more than this dude, you know? But it don't matter, because there's a birthright kind of entitlement to it. You know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of like, and I respect that even though I see through it, I still look at it and I'm like, yeah, man, if I was from out here, I'd be the same way. You know, like there's, you know, of course I would. I was that way and I wasn't even from out here. You know what I mean? Like, shit. I had a fake East Coast accent that I didn't even realize I had, you know? Like, I had that for years as a child, you know? And finally, my mom was like, you know you're from Minnesota, right? Minnesota. Say it, Minnesota.
Grouch was on that, right? No, Aesop Rock.
Was on the end,
That dude, well, he's actually from New York.
He is, yeah.
All these days are numbered, falling forward, failing upwards.
I'm not 100% certain I ever even explained to him what I was rapping about. You know what I'm saying? But Aesop is kind of one of them dudes where I've never taken the time to tell him what a song is about. Like, he's one of those people that you know, his interpretation of whatever it is likely even tighter than what I meant when I said it, kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like what he added to that was perfect.
All these roads to Eden, maps to nowhere is cold.
There was another song that I heard with Kim Manning, Won't Look Back.
Yep.
Who is she?
She's a singer that's, she's in LA at this time, but she was working a lot with G Coop in the Bay. She also is like, she's a backup singer in like, in Parliament Funkadelic. Yeah.
Anyway that the cold wind blows, I'll go 'cause you ruined my home.
It's just a song basically saying, you know, I can empathize with the need to get the fuck out of here. And really there's a word association, a simple one on that one. I talked first love, and then second guess, and then third time's a charm. So I labeled the verses first, second, and third verse, but also they're kind of three different phases of that need to get the fuck out. Because, you know, when you need to get the fuck away from the first time out, it can be hard to pull away. You can think, oh, maybe I'm just being dramatic, you know? That second time through though, that's when it's kind of like, all right, I see there's a pattern to this and I really gotta go. And then the third time's the charm. It's like, all right, that's it, I'm out the door, kind of a thing. And I addressed each verse in that way, you know what I mean? So the first verse is kind of light, it's not super dark, it's just kind of going, what the fuck, you know? Second verse, it's becoming more, you know, I make it more obvious that this is a problem. And then the third verse was like kind of the darker verse where it's just kind of like, you gotta go. And I wanted to write it in a way that didn't necessarily have to speak from a male or a female perspective, just to anybody who can relate to the idea of having to go. Even if it's just, you gotta go, quit your job, I don't care, you know what I'm saying? But if you're in a situation that you know is not for you, now that I say it out loud like that, I'm like, oh man, like,
gotta go.
That's I gotta go. Peace. No.
1, 2.
Any way that the cold wind blows, I'll go 'cause you ruined my home. Be leaving and I won't look back. On with my life, I can't save my past.
You know, they're like, oh, he's trying to change and become this for better or for worse, without realizing, like, nah, I'm just trying not to die. I'm just trying not to overdo this. And if I continue to put out certain types of energies in the world, I see now. I see how it does come back to you. You know.